Okay, that should be working. Hello again, Stony. How's it going? Okay. I'm mad. I'm mad at Elgato. It took my Stream Deck touchscreen away from me because I've got to plug in an actual Stream Deck. And I don't have one to hand right this second. So I'm mad. Like, just charge me a subscription. Joy. Oh well. Okay. And then I went and got coffee and realised that it was cold. So that's less than ideal. Um, hey Arish, how you doing? So. Yes, bye. So here we go. Um, today I am going to work on trying to get. So how was your experience with Cloud Code in the last stream? Um, so I'd been working with it for the previous week, and overall, I've embraced using it in my workflow. But when I choose, I'm not relying on it. I'm not building things that use a lot of it in one go. Hello, Kidok. Um, so I would advise using the AI tools. I think it is a great way, um, a great way of growing when done right. Hi, Delta. Yeah, I mean, I've used it. I've used Claude several times in this process to help me. What I found though is, as I did last time, right? You need to understand what it's trying to do. You need to understand the changes it's making. If you try and make large changes, or you don't constrain it, things can get messy and look like they work. So you have to use it wisely. Sorry. So yeah, I think it's definitely a tool that's worthwhile. I think it does have some good things. There's some things even in this project that I'm looking at right this second that have aided. Um, there's a few refactorings I did where it helped me, but mostly I'm asking it for um, what should I do, what would it advise, and then taking it from there. Um, so yeah, um, I would definitely say don't yeah, see, like I'm using Copilot and Claude as well interchangeably. So yeah, use it, but don't rely upon it for everything. So you join me as I so basically what I did yesterday is I implemented my Saga persistence for Mongo and SQL Server. This is so that I can use these tools no matter which part of the application I end up in. Back with fresh warm coffee. I mean, I could go and grind some coffee and make it, but I'll be gone for like 10 minutes because we pour it over the grounds. I don't have I go and grind the coffee, then put it in an actual filter, and then pour the water over the top. So it takes a little while. So, Sagas. Yeah, but again, like I sit in maybe stream and I'm watching the chat and I'm interacting and I just lose track of time. That's why his stream's dangerous. Yeah. I don't know about anybody else, but I do get kind of this sense of, oh, I need to hang out and support. Yeah. Is this that project management software? Yes. Well, no, this isn't this isn't Liquid Sky. This is a peripheral library. So, that was going to continue to, that's quite a good timing, Streamlabs. Well done. So any libraries I build or any things I build to support the Liquid Sky core software, if they could be useful to others, I open source them. So this is a Saga library that I'm working on that will eventually get used in Liquid Sky. The intent is to use it and test it in Liquid Sky to prove that it works. But I'm building it outside so that I can share that code if anyone else finds it useful. So this is one of 3 libraries that I've built for Liquid Sky. So there's Mediator Sagas, Mediator Outbox. These might get combined into one Mediator extensions library, and then Mediator Kafka extensions. So these 3 libraries are all, or 2 out of the 3 right this second, are used inside Liquid Sky, but I open source them so that they can be potentially useful to others. That's only failing because I apparently am trying to push the test library to NuGet, and because it doesn't match the pattern, it fails the API check. So, which is good. I'd rather not accidentally push libraries there. But I built this initial library. So you're overcomplicating things. I built this initial library 2 years ago. And then decided that I didn't want to implement it. So I'm kind of going back and adding the features that I actually needed. Do you need me to mediate or? Oh, we're having a good one today, aren't we? So yeah. So the Saga pattern is let me see if Refactoring Guru. Does it have Sagas represented in here? No, it does not have Sagas specifically. Yeah. Does not have Saga. This is DuckDuckGo. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure that I will continue using this. I might change up, but yeah. I'm conflicted. How so? Okay, I'll go on. We're about to get a wall of text. You mean about Saga? I want to do the TTS, but I should work on making the browser widget to display the chats that I'm listening to, since that works now. I didn't know DuckDuckGo has their own browser. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it's kind of restrictive because you can't. It doesn't do plugins. It doesn't do anything like that. So there's a yeah. I want the snarky bot replies to be spoken out so badly. Hey, this is why bot dev is a never-ending spiral of features that will divert you from your main project. So yeah, a Saga pattern is, again, I'll link to this. I'm not gonna read it all out for everyone. Dota's not exactly incorrect about walls of text, but ultimately coordinating different events over a period of time. So in this case, I'm using this to, or I will be using this to align. And the reason I'm writing my own is because Mediator doesn't natively have one, because Mediator is meant to be a kind of thin library. I'm adding behavior. And I'm coordinating Kafka and mass transit based events through into my application. So if I have true distributed messages across the entire application stack, like if I was coordinating behaviors, like planning needed to respond to other things happening in the rest of the system, then I would create mediator based sagas inside of here. However, not mediator, mass transit based sagas, service bus sagas inside of these to coordinate cross domain events. However, in this case, I am coordinating events coming from different things, so I'm using it inside of Mediator to represent that behavior. So, 1 second. You can. Interesting concept, Stoney. I haven't seen that done. I thought that's what you meant. Yeah, I was trying to. Yeah, I was racing still last night. Yeah. If you haven't followed Stoney, by the way, I highly recommend it. Stoney is streaming development of his bot and of primarily his No Mercy media server, which is worth checking out. So yes, yeah. I was thinking of. Somehow my brain drifted off to when else could I stream this week, and I can't. My time is weird this week. Okay, so and I don't think streaming from a hotel late in the evening is a stunning idea. Anyway, back onto sagas. So what I did over this weekend was I kind of went through and added in Mongo and SQL Server persistence. So I do need the two types of persistence because there's a high likelihood I'm going to quickly turn around and use this. Well, in its initial version, the likelihood is this is going to get used in Mongo, but having it available in SQL Server is definitely nice as well, because then I can actually jump between my services, and if I reorganize or refactor my services, I don't have to go through all this effort at that point. So a little bit of preparation for what I know will come around. What I did is I created a core persistence piece, because what I realized is because I'm using EF core with Mongo, which is now possible, by the way, they're transparent, right? The storage is the exact same, just how they're actually stored is the difference. So that's awesome. It works. I've got integration tests. I actually have integration tests here that use test containers and start up and verify that it can persist and it can be restored and it can store state. Everything's great. Everything's working, right? So I've got a saga. I can handle the event. Awesome. This is fantastic. Except I missed one major requirement in my design. Rambling Geek, good afternoon. Dread Breadcrumb, that's an awesome name. Good morning, how you doing? So I missed a key, a cornerstone of the design. I can coordinate data. I can produce events. I cannot query data. I cannot ask for anything else because I cannot do dependency injection. And dependency injection is going to be required if I want to do this. So I thought, well, hold on. So ultimately the actual implementation of these, it looks like that because it just goes down to the base and just tells it which context it's going to use, right? The Saga persistence base doesn't care as long as it gets a context factory of a type of context. So I need to construct an object, and I need to take in this Saga object, which is again shared in my common model, and rehydrate it essentially from the actual data record and convert it into an actual Saga. Right now, if I want Sagas to be kind of dumb, that's fine, but they might need to go and query data. They might need to go and fetch information to be able to make a decision on what they do. Good morning, online. Hope you are well. Thank you for the follow. So how do I tackle this now? Well, I've got these things that produce that so you see I've got this construct Saga, and here I have construct Saga, and I've passed in this delegate, and the delegate takes this Saga model and will produce an iSaga object, right? I can't, because that's not open source, that piece. I can share the code later if you want, whatever pieces of code you want. But that's not open source, unfortunately. That's all Liquid Sky. That is very much closed source. If you ping me if you want any specific information from that or any questions, Stony, you are more than welcome to ping me. Even if you want to ping me in public Discord chat so that other people see it. But yeah, whatever you want, whatever you want from that code, I will share the snippets, absolutely. And that's always an open offer, by the way. If anyone is interested in what I do with Liquid Sky, you're more than welcome to ping and ask questions offline on Discord. I'm happy to share information about how I achieve things. I'm just not open sourcing the entire code base. It is just not something that I want to do at this point. But Mediator Sagas. So I have this construction delegate. Well, that's great. That's awesome that I can construct things, but it doesn't solve the problem because I still can't use dependency injection using this method. All I've done here is said, I'll be responsible outside of so all I've done right now is actually broken these two behaviors, because now when I set them up here, right, when I set up the actual persistence, it's not going to work because I don't have any method of constructing an object. I'm already overcomplicating things enough on my own. So yeah, it is a thing. So for this to work, what I need to do is I need to do services.add scoped Saga construction delegate. and then I need to provide, this, right? So return Saga, and then return new. So equals type dot get type. Woo, get type. So hold on, it's probably going to be clearer if I actually highlight what that is. So naming is going to be hard here, right? That's going to be a problem, because what I'm talking about is I have a Saga, a model from the database, right? So let's name this properly. Model from DB, right? That's the actual model coming in from the database that would be sent to this thing. I need to get the type of that, construct an instance of it, set its properties and its state, right? Apply its state and its properties, right? Now, constructing an instance of this is difficult because I need to so I'm thinking about the design on the fly, which is not helping me very much describe it. I need to I can't use dependency injection because it has a constructor. It has a very clear constructor because the actual Saga is here. This Saga takes a GUID, right? This is the abstract base class, not the implementation of that thing. So two options. I either remove the default constructor and provide some way of saying, constructing this and then applying its state, which doesn't make sense because, maybe it could. So when I apply state, maybe the state is the orchestration identifier and its data object, its state. And that way I could actually construct this using DI, because then my implementations, which would look like this, right, could then use DI. So I'm not sure. And again, I'm in that world of, am I making this more complicated than I need to? Am I making this overly involved? I don't think so. For what I'm solving, I feel that it is the right path. I'm interested in anyone else who, if you've had experience of building sagas and things like that, if you have that sort of experience, I would be. What are your thoughts on the pattern, on the usage of them, and what are your thoughts on me building one using Mediator? I'm always open to that. So this would help me if I got rid of the default constructor, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to say var type equals type dot get type type identifier. That is, when I serialize it, I serialize out the assembly qualified namespace. So the expectation is anyone using this is going to have access to that assembly. Therefore, that namespace will be valid. If it doesn't work, it's just not going to do anything, right? Right. If type is null, return null. Right. That's the thing. That's possible. What do I like that? Yeah, that's fine. Otherwise, var. So the way I was doing this is I was saying var instance equals, and I was passing it the model from DB, the orchestration identifier, right? Saga. And then if instance is null, return null. right? Otherwise, instance dot apply state, model from DB dot state from JSON, model from DB dot yeah. So that will cast the state to the right type, and then basically instance dot trigger interval equals model from DB dot trigger interval. Yeah. Come on. You don't want to help me to do this? Next trigger time equals model from DB. So an example of how AI, yesterday I was trying to validate some of these opinions and some of these ideas, and I was basically going back and forth with the AI on the Saga design stuff, and it was like, yeah, this is again the whole you're wonderful. It was like, yeah, that's great, that's the perfect idea. Maybe you could add these fields. And the fields it suggested were the actual right fields I should have implemented in the first place, but it was still telling me my own idea was perfectly good, even though these fields replaced mine. So it was still trying to tell me what I'd provided was good, even though it kind of wasn't. So that's great, right? However, now I'm still, again, constructing an instance using activate.create instance. I have no dependency injection. My Sagas don't benefit from that because, they don't. And again, if anyone's watching and actually feels that I'm going off the rail here, but what I'm thinking is I will get rid of this, right? I will remove that, and I will make apply state the one responsible for applying GUID orchestration identifier. So the orchestration identifier is an identifier that every single event that is going to come into this particular Saga is going to need. So any message I'm handling has to have an orchestration ID, and that will be matched up to pull that Saga by its identifier. It's up to the user of the library to understand how they're going to build that orchestration identifier. So it might be that you actually have to go and store a record to get an identifier to represent certain pieces of data, but you're going to do it that way. That's going to be a uniqueness, right? So maybe you're doing something for a property for a user, right? You might have those two pieces of information stored and then capture an orchestration identifier when you create the Saga. That way, any other events that come along, you just resolve them by publishing the orchestration identifier with things. Again, this isn't perfect, but it is what it is. GUID orchestration ID. I am not a fan of implement. I could use the fact that you can now implement things in interfaces, but I don't like that idea. There is a thing I realized about the majority of models used in most platforms. They have a base instruction baked in that seems to instruct it to agree with what you proposed. If you ask it to provide a more complete response or evaluate it more genuinely or something, it will still do the immediate agreement, then give a different opinion. Yes. Yes. It was an interesting one. I mean, it wasn't wrong. It gave me the right direction, and I was on the right path. But it was interesting that it kind of said, well, hold on, you could use these fields as well. And those fields actually directly represented different names. Yeah. I tried to think of something to put it, but I'm too tired. So I just go ahead and say hi and go back to bed. Then it'll rest. Important. Hope you're well. Go back to bed. So obviously I've broken everything about my sagas. I've caused major problems here because, I'm being dumb. GUID, um, uh, orchestrating identifier, um, apply state, orchestrating identifier. And then we need to do state equals state. Let's do that. Let's create an actual backing property. Did I keep? Yeah, I called it orchestration. And then I went away from it and went back to um, what do we think of class orchestration identifier GUID to make sure you can't use the wrong kind of ID? Not a bad idea. That would also allow me to switch out what orchestration identifier is later, as long as it can be serialized. That is not a bad idea. I've often thought about using those sorts of things where I'm using a class to represent an identifier. I don't think it's a bad idea. Actually, that would give me more flexibility over that as well. But we'll make that a later improvement once I get it working. Yeah. Yeah, Rambling Geek. Did I leave the reference up? Here you go. This is a pretty good diagram. So the reason I'm using these, again, so the reason might help as well with the idea. The reason I'm using these is because, again, I have, we'll focus on this one, real time. So I have two events that are going to come into my system, right? One's going to come through Service Bus, one's going to come through Kafka. They're both going to produce events within inside of the communications domain that things have happened, right? I'm going to, my sagas listen at the domain event level, right? Because they're implemented in Mediator. The reason I'm doing that is so that I can coordinate these two events. So no matter which one arrives first, I can still respond when the second one arrives, by just sitting there listening and now when the second one arrives, I'm like, oh, I've got to do something. Let's go off ahead and do that. They're highly unlikely to not necessarily a form of rollback, more a form of coordination. So basically, if this event fires and starts the saga, but this event never arrives, right? Then yeah, I'd have a saga sat there doing nothing. I'd know about that, right? I could expire it. I could do all sorts of other things. But the idea is that when I retrieve the details from Kafka, I'm going to store my information in my system and publish a domain event. Yeah, so you have to deal with the concept of expiration, right? You have to deal with the concept of it never arrived. So you could trigger an event. You could say, triggers. That's why I'm putting the date time triggers in stuff, right? So I could say it triggers and it triggers once, right? So it triggers and it says, did I do anything? There's nothing to do because it failed. Publish a domain event that says, I could do a on failure. Publish as well. So if I mark it as failed, which could remove it or whatever, then it would publish an event, and that event would trigger a notification or trigger some sort of metric. So yeah, this is the beginning of the library. This is going to require a lot more refinement over time as I go towards improving things. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know the name for that thing, Thindle, but yeah, I am I do believe that's probably the right path. to go down is to get away from using GUID there and create an orchestration identifier type that then could be wrapped up as a string, or it could be something else. But yeah, so these are, again, I'm writing this because it helps me. I have two events coming from two different systems. That is a complication that I have introduced, but that is by design. That is my purpose, or that is my intent, so that I have separate behavior. Frank, good morning. Happy Monday. How you doing? So let's go back here. So what I'm achieving there is I'm actually removing any constructor from those objects. So these are all going to break, right? Because they're now all completely busted. I have no dependencies in these at all. We're going to have to test that later. So this is going to be fun. Let's remove all these. We're going to have to figure out what it introduces. If you aren't following Frank, I highly recommend doing so. It's another .NET streamer. It's a wonderful stream to go and hang out in. Okay, so Saga persistence fixture, what are you doing now? Okay, so that's going to fail because we don't have model from db.orchestration identifier there. That's fine now. Ooh, thread dump is taken. That's awesome. These will fail, I believe. Oh no, these won't actually fail because my generators are now the problem. Although these, interesting, these would work. Okay. Mr. Weathers, hello, good morning. Hope you are well. Great stream on Saturday. I assume you were also struck by the random rain and thunderstorms throughout the weekend, so I too did not manage to mow a lawn this weekend, and yeah. So by removing these, all I'm achieving is breaking everything, right? Yeah, so we don't have that, right? So to get this to work now, I don't have a way of setting the orchestration identifier. So this is messy. I'm going to be with you. Yes, the rain ended up flooding. Oh, sorry to hear that. Ads. Again, if you haven't checked out Corey's stream, streams on Saturdays as often as possible. He's currently working on another distributed system, actually, looking at different technologies using Copilot to go through that on Saturday. He was coming up with some quite amusing results as well, including creating some images that made up technologies, which was great. So these are going to break. And so these tests will fail. That's fine. When Saga is persisted, so all these will go away. This is an interesting problem. I suppose what I have to do here, Azure Funches should be a thing. That's what I learned. Yeah. It was so it basically took a mermaid diagram, was asked to render the mermaid diagram, then made up a completely different diagram by itself with completely incorrect terminology. Well, not completely incorrect. It was close, and you kind of got the idea. But then when you took the actual mermaid diagram, it looked totally nothing like that. So it was interesting that it chose to do that. I would have thought the tooling for, like, isn't that exactly what an MCP tool is for, right? You feed it, hey, here's mermaid diagram, give me back image. Seems like there should be a tool for doing that already. I thought that's exactly what MCP is really for. Legitimate though, it would do it well also. Yeah. It was interesting that it didn't. So I've just broken all my code. This is fine. It's all fine. At least it builds. That's a positive, right? Oh, hold on. Let's not lie. Let's not assume it builds. Warnings are fine. Warnings are fine. Oh no, there's errors. But there's not errors. Ah, there is errors. Oh. It's in the generators. That's not good. That's not good. Why are you not actually... No. Build. Publishing Saga does not contain a constructor that takes one argument. Non-publishing Saga does not contain a constructor that takes one argument. Started Saga. Non-publishing does not contain a constructor that... Right. I don't... Hold on. Publishing, non-publishing, and started. Publishing, non-publishing, and started. Does not contain a constructor. So, for reference here, what I'm doing is I'm trying to use CodeGen, because what I do is I create these classes and the Sagas should implement the handlers. But the wire up of the handlers to Mediator, I don't want you to have to do all the boilerplate because that just slows you down, right? So, and it's also the same pattern. It is the same pattern over and over again. So that's what these are for, right? So these will generate classes and handlers that will get registered with Mediator, because it will all get generated code that will handle that event, the notification. So when you publish, so in this instance where I publish, notification received event, these handlers will listen to that and fetch the Saga. And now I'm thinking through it, I've got another bug here, but that's going to be a problem of a different making. Fetch the Saga and then build it. But this doesn't build a Saga anymore. So that's a problem. Saga is null. Saga.apply orchestrated dot that, and then cac. Sadly, this is the way I often design. Basically, I'm like the little pachinko machines where the thing drops from the top and just bounces down. It's a bit chaotic, but I'll get there in the end. And my design, once I've got the full picture in my head, I will be able to do what I need to do. So the difference here is when it is event handler, it basically creates the handler, and if the Saga's null, nothing's gonna. If you can't receive the Saga, it doesn't create a Saga, right? Because it's not going to do that. Where if it's started by it, it will actually generate a new Saga. But the issue I have now is maybe it's not that difficult. So the problem is it's trying to generate these sagas, right? It's trying to generate this, and this code is invalid now. So that's why those are that way, because these have started bys and the others don't. That's the difference. If you have any thoughts, questions, opinions, if you're new to the stream, you are more than welcome to ask. You are more than welcome to share an opinion. I'm not streaming just purely to sit here coding. If you can learn something, or if you can suggest something that helps me learn, I am open to learning. I do not want to sit here and pretend that I am perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So here I'm saying this can be a class. Apply state. Do I want nullable state, or do I want default state? What will that give me if I do? But I don't know the state type here, do I? No, I have no idea about the state of the entity in these handlers. So again, this is what wires up the actual sagas as sagas, is these generated classes. It's not beyond the realm that you could actually generate these yourself, but if you look over here, what will happen, source generators, you see it's generated the ones it can, but it's not working for everything. So it will create these classes, which will get registered with Mediator by virtue of being there. It injects a mediator in, so it can actually dispatch the message through Mediator. So it publishes an event through Mediator if it finishes, if we have an iPublish, and that calls this, so you can build the message yourself, right? And again, the problem I'm trying to solve right this second is dependency injection in my constructed sagas. So these will work fine, but these other ones will break because now there's no orchestrating identifier. But I can't do, no, I can't do that. I can't go and say, oh, apply state, because I don't have state at this point. But this is a new saga. When I save it, it will save the state anyway, because the saga's state will be created. I'm just wondering if it's apply is the right. If only was a key. If only there's a right-click shortcut to do that. Way more fun to do it that way, though. So if I do this, I remove that, and I do saga.apply, and I do orchestrated.orchestration identifier, and then I do, so if you can be started by multiple events, it's okay, because the second one that comes along will also pick that up. Orchestrated.orchestration identifier. I also, the thing that's going through my head right now is I need to make sure that if I have multiple sagas for the same notification type, will that generate conflicting classes? Or will that still be linked to one handler? Brain whirring. Default. I can't pass in default there. So do I allow apply to do that? Right. So does equal null. That won't work because it's not nullable, so that's fine. So you'd have to make that nullable. Null, but then that cascades down there. That's a problem. So this version means this will only get called if I'm calling it explicitly as iSaga and I don't know about it any other way, which is actually the way that I'm more likely to know about it, right? So I'm more likely to call it this way, but apply state is still available to me. If I have the specific, if I have a saga of T state available to me, then it will call this one automatically. But otherwise, I'm calling this one. So the default implementation of this is that way. So I'm in two minds right this second. The first is, do I create a separate method that is initialize or some pattern that helps me describe, oh, you're building a saga from this with this orchestration identifier, or do I keep apply state in there and just make this a nullable object to default it? Feels kind of hacky. No, it is kind of hacky. But I feel that, so this is an instance where, okay, Claude or Copilot or whatever. These are the sorts of times when this sort of tooling is really useful. However, I don't know what I want to ask exactly, because I feel something's wrong. I know that the design's verging on hacky versus a refined solution. But if I ask it that, it's going to give me the answer I want. It's gonna give me, because I'm gonna feed back in. I'm gonna create that feedback loop. So I need to be aware of, how do I prompt for this if I want some suggestions like that rubber duck style, right? And this is where I think this sort of tooling is excellent if I know what I'm asking. And the sunlight's here, so forgive the bright white stripe down the middle of my face that will appear eventually. I can see the sun peeking through the blind. I am powered by AI, so surprises and mistakes are possible. Make sure to verify any generated code or suggestions and share feedback so we can learn and improve. So what do I do here? What do I do? Let's try and describe it exactly what my problem is and see. And we'll use Claude Sonnet 4 here, and we'll add. I can't drag and drop these, I don't think. So add context, Sagas. I cannot construct a saga with a orchestration identifier, as I need to set up dependency injection so that implementations of Saga can benefit. It, however, apply method was intended to apply the state of the saga back to itself. And I've hijacked this now to take in orchestration identifier. What this does is force me. So, typing this out, maybe this helps me enough. I feel that it's going to feed back. So we're doing this as an experiment. And maybe what we'll do is we'll take the same prompt and feed this into Claude Code and see if it comes up with a different answer. So again, like I said on Friday, I am going to make these tools more of my workflow. I genuinely intended I genuinely meant that. I do think that they can be useful, or they are useful, not they can be, they are useful. And it's a perfect chance to learn and reflect on your own code. But write your own code. Yeah. What this does is force me to make a nullable object of state, because I might only have the orchestration identifier when I'm constructing, for instance, creating more methods to be able to track, to add the orchestration feels like a poor answer, as then you construct a Saga. So another option would be basically create some sort of DI system for the handle methods, so that I actually have, I'm generating that code anyway, but then have the handle method resolved and pass in dependencies. So in any given handler, you could inject the things you need for that handler. That feels like the harder path to go down. That would be my alternative. So Saga, I need to call not only a constructor, but hey Phil Summer, how you doing? What's going on? I'm trying to figure out dependency injection into my Sagas, but two methods to set the orchestration. Right. Suggestions are welcome. Let's see what this one comes up with first. So this is Claude Sonnet 4 with but that's the problem. Oh, so okay. I'm trying to get through Casey's talk on it. I haven't even tried yet. So let's see. The issue is that you're trying to use a single method for two different purposes: initialization and state restoration. Here's a cleaner approach using constructor injection and separate methods. Okay, so constructor injection, fair enough. Oh, we can now create so it's moved our state down into our base class. No, it's provided us the ability to provide state and or the orchestration identifier. And then he says, see, I really did complex OOP stuff, but in all seriousness, the talk is awesome because he goes through the history of OOP. Nice. Manats, hello, how you doing? The original paper is behind paywalls. That's not great. So we've left apply state with the ID on there, so it's not removed that. And if we try and apply state from the orchestration identifier that doesn't match what we have, we shouldn't be able to do that. That's a good logic check. For DI registration, create a factory pattern, right? So we create Saga, right? Activate utilities dot create instance service provider type of Saga. But this approach separates concerns. Constructors handle initialization. Apply state only updates existing state, and the factory handles DI aware creation. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Oh, I suppose it would do, actually. It would. But hold on, if I make a protected constructor, doesn't that break the downstream dependencies? I like Casey's OOP. presentation. He is good when he is prepared to talk. Otherwise, I think he easily gets into a rant. Oh, we're back to the sunlight. Um, but that will force me to have. I'm not against the Saga factory necessarily. I'm just that's not a thing, is it? Is that actually a thing? That is a thing. What? Today I learned. Oh, so it hooks into dependency injection. So instead of activated or create instance, which I normally do, this is a wrapper around that, which will give me the service provider. So, okay. That is a thing, yeah. I thought I was making stuff up. um, I don't think it was Bob specifically. I think that might be another collaborative effort. No, because no, Bob did not come up with solid. Oh, maybe the acronym potentially, but not the individual concepts. Maybe might have coined the acronym. Maybe might have coined the acronym. Not maybe. He maybe. Yeah. I don't think this helps me because, as far as I'm aware, and correct me if I'm wrong, this still forces me to have a constructor on the object. This doesn't necessarily get me away from being able to inherit that. So let's see. Gotcha. Right, but I mean, the third, the L, right, is crediting someone else with the principal. So it's again the things being combined to be useful. Let's try and introduce this because I think what this is going to do, and again, I think that's going to create a problem, right? Because what that's going to do, yeah, it wants to convert into a primary constructor. That's not going to work. Is that's going to force me to have a constructor there, right? Which I can't have because it's protected. So I can't, like, that doesn't solve the problem. That creates a different type of problem because I'm forced to have a constructor. Like, if that worked, that would be amazing, but it doesn't work because because of the rules of the language, right? So this does not give me DI. It's merged the two concepts and give me what I wanted, basically, as a potential code path, but it's not really. This isn't necessarily what I want. This replaces, by the way, this is kind of the replacement for what I did here, right? It's these pieces. Yeah, Lisco substitution is not, yeah. So, let's feed that prompt into Claude Code and see if the Claude Code comes out with anything. I mean, I've just fed that into Claude Sonnet 4. Let's see. What are my options here? So this, I didn't give it a single file to reference. I just let it go out the code. So it might come out, well, it likely will come out with a very different answer. I can see it already. Okay, so give it the full benefit. Factory pattern with two-phase construction, create Saga. Again, Saga factory will create get required service T Saga state coalesce state saga.state, right? Constructed with the required orchestration identifier, again, not an option. Keyed services pattern, use .NET's keyed service with orchestration identifier as key, add keyed scope, keyed service orchestration identifier. Oh. But I end up doing that anyway. Your use of AI here is interesting. You plan on just having takeaways from what it proposes? I assume you meant proposes, not purposes. So I have a specific problem. I'm trying to figure out how to solve that. If I tell it, hey, go do the code for me, it's clearly going to come up with something that either doesn't work or is just not within the intended design, right? So I'm using it very much the way I like to use it, which is I can learn something here. Proposes versus purposes. Proposes. Propose. Yeah. Now I'm doubting myself on the word. Yes, to propose. Yeah. Option 1, factory pattern is cleanest as it encapsulates the complexity while maintaining DI benefits. So this is what I'm aiming for. So again, hold on. Is that giving me kind of my answer? So it's not diverting me away from my apply method, that version. This is not diverting me away from my apply. It's saying that the apply is pretty much the way I'm going to do it, right? This one was being more literal around the whole let's get rid of the apply, but then went back to using the apply, right? So it was giving me the option of having a null object. But both ways send me down that path, right? Both of them take me down the path. Like in this instance where I'm recovering it, I actually have the state all the time, so it's fine. But yeah, interesting. So what we do here is we go to our do we go to persistence? Yeah, because we need it in persistence, infrastructure, extensions, state persistence extensions, JSON serializer. We need Saga factory. It's always a good day when you create something called a factory. I don't need no stinking interface. Make the code work. Right. Do I want scoped services here? I probably do, don't I? Do I? Let's go with service provider for now. So if you inject service, I learned this yesterday, again, using these tools. Injecting service provider will give you the entire DI. If you inject the service provider scope, you can create an actual unique scope of things. So you can get, no, it doesn't do much, but it will give me what I need, right? And then I can inject the factory. Yeah, so I can actually get rid of my delegate potentially, right? The delegate is maybe not. We'll see. We'll see what we do. We'll see how the design cleans up. But well, ultimately, what's going to call this is something like this, right? So when I well, actually, it's more here, right? So this construct saga is going to happen here, right? So when I fetch the saga, if it exists, I'm going to construct it, and I need the DI so that I can have any access to things I need. And then when I get all the sagas, I also need to use them to construct the actual instances of the saga. No, this is all database access stuff. The only times I need to jump out is when I need to. So this is saving. This is all responsible for persisting the saga or retrieving the saga from the database. So it's the database representation of it. So I could turn around and instead of having my delegate, just replace it with my construction factory, and then I can retrieve my saga that way. So I think the delegate might go away and use this. What's that set stuff? Where? Here? Nicola. Oh. Yeah, here. I'm accessing the... So I don't have the context. So it's a generic context. So I don't know that if it has .sagas. So here's how you access a collection in EF without actually having the dot whatever. If this isn't there, it'll just fall over in a heap. So this allows me to have, so my context looks like this, right? That's my context. And actually, you don't even need that. Right? Right. Here, I don't have that at all. You don't even need the, because I'm not using it. Yeah, I have the saga stored in DB. Yes. Yes, this is about serialization of that data, or storage of the data, not serialization. It serializes the state, but everything else is tracked as actual fields or columns. Why wouldn't you give that retrieve state? Yeah, I am doing. That's what this is doing. That's what this is doing. This is reapplying. So correct. Why not do that transform if it's given a thing? That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to make sure that it can still have DI at my. So the saga, the actual saga is not just a data model, right? It's not just a generic thing. It's an actual implementation of behavior, right? So let me go to the tests. So the Saga might be, okay, I handle this notification, I handle this notification, and then, when, these things happen, I can react to those things. I can publish other events. I can do other things, right? That's the concept. I can coordinate things. In the Saga, is it an adapter? Is it kind of an adapter type thing? Where? In the factory? I'm going to go slow deliberately to make sure I don't just jump back and forth between things and assume what you're asking. Why that set is, where is it? Which set? The set in the persistence? The calling code of the Saga factory. So let me finish this out as implementing it. Saga. Yeah, that's gonna work. So what don't you like there? Oh, you do? Okay. That's interesting. Oh yeah, if it's nullable, we'll take the default of the state, which is fine, because that's fine. Let's do this. Extract interface. Saga factory. So if I do, so there's a bit more to this than what I'm doing here. So I actually need this to be a little bit more involved. This might be. So let's undo that. Let's change this a little bit. Let's take. Take that and oh no, it won't serve both purposes if I do it this way. Damn it. It's not what I want. It's not what I want. So in the persistence, if you see, so construct Saga. So if I put the Saga factory in here right now, this would work, right? So I could do, instead of that, I could do iSaga factory, and I could call that create Saga from here, right? I'm pulling the database information. If it's null, then I return null. Otherwise, I'm going to construct a new instance of the Saga and give it. Again, I want DI so that I can use these sagas can be a little bit more complicated. They can query more information, etc. Or do what they need to do. The thing I'm stuck on right now is this solves kind of the purpose, but there's other pieces that I need to apply on top of the actual Saga when I retrieve it from the database. So in this case, in the actual create case, nothing really changes. I will configure hold on. My brain's whirring on all the options here. I need to do these things, apply this information, right? I actually considered applying these as kind of a separate layer, or kind of a decorator around the Saga. Like these are not, but again, after going through using some tools and whatnot, I realized that these pieces of information were necessary in the Saga. So I could create a model that wraps all these up and then apply, including state, and apply it here. So I can apply this back. the factory here as it stands doesn't solve my problem. It solves the nullability problem, right? It gives me the ability to do that. So I could, in theory, I could go to my generators and inject a Saga factory and then call the Saga factory. Oh, well, here, I could inject the Saga factory and call the Saga factory, and that would give me what I need. That would work. That solves that problem for create, you know, but I'd still need I'd still need a version of this that does this. I'm not fully in the loop, but why didn't you use keyed services or have the factory pull in all services by an interface with base properties that the factory could? Factory pull in all services by an interface could use. So keyed services I wasn't fully aware of, but I don't. The orchestration identifier might change, so I don't want to mess around with keyed services. Also, there could be, you know, dozens of sagas. So well, no, even with keyed services, it still doesn't give me the solution because I don't have all those things. In this case, there's two scenarios where I need to create the saga. The first is in the handler where I'm initializing the saga, but I have the orchestration identifier and nothing else. The second is I'm retrieving the saga from the database and then mapping it again. So they're slightly the same but slightly different. Like this version of the Saga factory could exist inside of Sagas, right? Because that would work there. Yeah. Oh, that's Saga factory as well. Oh, sorry, you're abstracting loading the DB state. So again, driving requirement here is that I'm able to use DI with my sagas, right? So I can create a saga, I can recover a saga from the database and still give it its dependencies, right? So it has access to whatever it needs. Yeah, the key on the orchestration identifier right this second. That's it. But the DI alone, I can't store the saga in DI when I'm maintaining the state like that. Otherwise, everything's going to be in memory the entire time. And I'd have to flip the dependency there for the saga to know how to save itself. So the storage would be keyed on the orchestration identifier. I retrieve it from the database. So again, Saga gets started, right? So this notification occurs. Again, this is code gen, right? So this notification occurs. Let's go to the actual generated code. It's easy to see, right? So I have this handle that's generated for me. No, not necessarily. Well, kind of, because you have the event that happens. So this notification occurs. I retrieve the saga. I handle the message, and then I either delete it or I save it, right? So there's my persistence. So the only thing that would change there would be that part, right? If I use keyed services in DI, the only thing that changes is that. And then does that mutate the state of that entity? Or do I have to do something else to update it into DI? Or do I pull back the same object next time I ask for it? right? So to me, it seems to make more sense to store it in the database, but I haven't used keyed services in DI. So this event happens, I fetch it. If the saga is null because it doesn't exist, then I just return. I call handle with that notification. Again, this is also that handler, which would look like this, right? This handle event, right? This event, let's say there was a handler for, well, sample notification, right? Sample saga sample notification handler. Yeah, this adds the name to the notification, right? So sample notification, this event occurs, it gets the saga, right? This, let's assume this saga exists because that's the only case that can happen. Something else has to start the saga, right? I handle the notification, which gets called in, like there, and I can say, yep, it was called and notification was event and we're good, or I can do whatever else I need. So again, the design here is one of, I want to be able to remove this need so that I can have, I need a database, I need a web service, I need something else to call to. I'm coordinating those things. That's what I'm trying to aim for here. And thank you for the follows. I appreciate it. Persistence is inherited. The persistence is a base, an abstract base class, because the behavior of the persistence is the exact same between Mongo and SQL Server. It's just the different technologies that back it, right? So I need the configurations to be able to manage the differences. I need to be able to, I'm putting this in a different schema so it stays outside of my regular data, but it would land in the actual database. So yeah, so the implementation of the Saga SQL, the SQL version of it is that, and the implementation of the Mongo version of it is that, and the base actually does the stuff. So the only challenge I have here is when I construct this Saga, I need DI because I need to retrieve it. So if storing the sagas in DI is a better option, then I would choose that better option. But I don't think right this second that's my problem. My problem is, where do I recover it from? When I wanted something like this, I injected my own service collection and had the service just pull its DI things out, either through the handle or the constructor. I guess if it's inherited, you can't sub in a test inheritance persistence. I can test this. This isn't untestable. That's why I've got a growing suite of unit tests, and I have integration tests as well to make sure I can recover the sagas and stuff. These will break right this second because of the way the code is. So I am. This isn't going in my code, my Liquid Sky code, until I've tested the scenarios that I need to test. The question I'm having right now is this is one of the versions, right? If I created a factory right this second, I could inject that factory into my into here and use it here, and it would work perfectly. That will be fine if I can do it that way, right? That's absolutely perfect. It is not fine for the recovering from the database. So I need some behavioral extension to the factory to be able to give me that mapping stuff, which actually would make it slightly less testable. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. It'd still work. What I was going off to check there is, there we go. So it will create a new version of state because state has to be a class. So it will default that. So that is a safe code. That is a safe piece of code in that factory. That, because it will always be set. So if we try and pass in null, it will give us that. So let me do this. Let me move this. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this. We're going to move that into majority there. Testing is that when we ship the customer and they send the bug reports. Yeah, that's exactly what testing is. Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Phil Schnabel. Refactor, adjust. So we're going to take this. We're then going to extract an interface. Right. Notice breakout. Contracts. Move to another file. Do that there. I think another way of putting that would be abstractions, but that's fine. You could put all those in its abstractions library, it's fine. So what we can do there is in our generators now, we could create in our started by, what we'll do is we'll treat Saga factory. We'll do that, and then we'll do equals factory.create Saga orchestrated copy it. You can't type it. That does that. That will regenerate them now. And now these should, what do you not like in there? Yeah, because you don't like that. That's fine. Source generators. Started by. Oh no. Clean. Actually, let's do a rebuild in a second. So that solves the first half. I now have DI for that. Also, do I need to create a scoped factory there? I'm not sure I do. Oh yeah, we need a factory. Private I. So that actually substitute for Saga factory. Pretty obvious that it's that, but it's fine. Remove them. Mediator. Factory. Assistants. We'll worry about them afterwards. Arnath, hello, how you doing? Good morning. Seems I'm doing TDD then. Customers and bug reports. What are we, enterprise? That's a bug report. I mean, they call me directly and shout a lot. Yeah, that's yeah. I'm so happy. For the past couple of days, I've been trying to get an event queue to make 1 million users for me. Local stat failed hard. Switched to Go AWS and it's cooking. That's interesting to hear. Go AWS. So in about 20 minutes, I'm going to resume my pulling my hair out with local stack efforts for work, trying to make progress on a project because I do not have access to AWS. So I may look at that. Yes, I'm using SQS as well. Joy. Hope you're well. If you've not checked out Melana's stream, I highly recommend it. He's doing distributed systems. And I'm sorry, one line did shout out Mr. Anhorn before. He started up a stream yesterday, working on his stream scene. I don't even know how to describe it, Mr. Anhorn. You're more than welcome to try, and if you have any links for anything. But I highly recommend it. You know, when he brings a stream up, it's definitely worthwhile going checking out. if you like this stuff. And Melnath is working on distributed systems in Ruby, but has created an entire framework, an entire tool set for generating distributed systems, and tested it for the first time really last week, and had it create a bunch of services and wire them up, and they just worked. So yes, that was what I was seeing. Local stack, just the SQS stuff just growing. So yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so let's see if we can get this. So I think that built the new versions of the Sagas. Did I just do Control-Shift-B inside of my browser window? Yeah. One-stop shop for all your overlay needs, but right now it's a fancy PNG tuber overlay system with a trigger action director. Yeah, but it's worth checking out. And actually, Stony, if you're around, you might want to have a conversation with Mr. Anhorn, because you have some ideas about stuff like that. Let's do that again. Let's create persistence equals substitute. There's no point, absolutely no point, in making these more complicated in the actual setup. And then we need private read-only I Saga factory. I'm dealing with Sagas. I don't need to keep repeating the word. What's Go AWS is screaming though it's hovering at 15 megs of RAM. I don't think I even need hang around and wait for the queue to process stuff anymore. Nice. I'll check out Go AWS. Yeah. I'm around, not fully aware of what you're doing or saying. I wasn't asking you to look at what I was doing. I was just saying Mr. Anhorn is working on a kind of stream tooling thing that allows you to set up overlays and direct. It's starting off as a PNG tuber thing, but it sounds very familiar. What are you doing? What are you actually doing? That just completely... I just bought the namespace, yeah. Okay. Oh, man. Eye burning. Okay, so same thing. Assistance. You think I'd created these from oh, it's learning finally. Yeah. Where is it defining? Oh, there's Mediator. Oof. Next. We done? Let's see. I want to make an OBS extension so I can do Pygame output with actual alpha without doing chroma key, because chroma key is bad. Guys with your like stream things and like investment in like fun things on streams. Okay. So those Saga generators right this second should have, or rather the tests should have generated the right code to have the started by with the factory. Yeah, there's our factory. So now it calls create Saga started Saga. Let's see if it runs. I don't think it should. Actually, no, it won't. It won't work because the stub of those tests is going to fail because nothing tells factory to do anything, right? Factory dot create saga, non-publishing saga, arg dot is GUID orchestration identifier, arg dot any any object returns info goes to new non-publishing saga. Let's try and run that test. Because most of these should fail because the factory is not returning things, right? Saga is removed. Oh, that's a stunning one that I just tested. When saga is complete and does not publish. Saga is removed. Okay, so it did work. It created the saga enough to remove it. That's actually a pass. But it needs more refinement. It would not be too much time to make something like that with the system ever in mind. In the end, you just make a spy website or a widget. It doesn't matter what framework you use for it. Just listen for events and handle whatever you need to do with the event. Sounds like you're all working on similar. Yeah, I know. I've got local Kubernetes running all that stuff, and I frequently show things in browser sources. I need to get more alpha going with Phaser.io, but the use case is Pygame, which can't browse that at the moment. Never skip testing observability. I went gung-ho for the user creation stuff. I've been regretting it so hard. Yeah. I will, what I'm trying to do, I have the tests in place. They will fail, which means my push will fail. My PR will fail, eventually. What I need to do right this second, though, is get this second part of this problem out my brain so I can actually solve this problem. So what we're going to do, Saga factory extensions. We're going to create a set of extensions around iSaga factory that will do the same thing, I think, because we have our service provider in our Saga. We don't have that in our. Yeah. We need to have. We need to have this defined as a property, iService scope. I still think I want scope, but I probably don't want scope, do I? Do I want the full provider or do I want a scope? So the way that's going to work is at the Saga factory level, we're going to implement that, and that's going to be equals service provider. What don't you like there? Yes, okay. That's crazy good. So with that, what I can do here now is I can create public static iSaga factory. No, actually, I can create tsaga fetch build saga from model tsaga, and then I can take t model tsaga this t model right, and then I actually no, this iSaga factory comma t model, and then I can do something similar to the actual Saga factory behavior here because I have my provider, right? factory dot provided dot get required service. So I can still build the Saga, but now I can say Saga dot maximum trigger count equals model dot. Oh no, that's going to be Saga. Sorry, that doesn't need to be T model. That's the database model. That's fine. I know that one. Maximum trigger count, Saga dot next trigger time, Saga dot trigger interval dot last triggered. Right, and then I can do apply state of model dot orchestration identifier, and I can do Saga dot state because I've just pulled it from that, so it's an empty object. Actually, no, I don't need to do that. I can do model dot state dot from JSON. What is that? That is Saga dot state dot get type. Yeah. You could do it just Docker, but morning, Mars. How you doing? Now, wouldn't it be smart if I actually stored the refresh token response in the database where the refresh search runs? Nah. Just be sat there wondering, I'm refreshing the tokens, but I keep getting told I'm not allowed logged in. So what that does is allows me to have the base Saga factory. So my Saga generators can use the factory. They're completely independent of persistence. I still get dependency injection. But now in my persistence base, I can get rid of my construction delegate, replace that with a Saga factory. And here I can say dot create Saga, the Saga, right? Because that's, and I can just pass in the identifier. Right, there's no state because it's a default state. This is the first time. Actually, no, it's not going to be that, is it? It's going to be create Saga and then Saga from db dot state dot from JSON Saga. Do I not have that information available at that point? Come on, brain. State, Saga. So confident. It's so lacking. So close, so close. Instance.state. I've got a chicken and egg there. That's funny. Morning, Napalm. Yeah, it kept running every minute. I was wondering why. I'm getting logged out, and it's just silly. I've got a chicken and egg. Oh dear. One day, I will actually contemplate what it looks like to be deliberate about my design. You know what? I don't need that because I'm creating it. No, I'm getting it. I need it. Dang it. So the problem I have is I can create the saga, right? But I can't set the state, which means I'm going to have to immediately turn around and apply state because I don't have the object that I require here. Unless I pass in a string, which is the current state serialized, because I don't have the type of this T saga. So if that was a string, right, if that's a nullable string, right, and then I can do state.from JSON, or like deserialize JSON, then I can do saga.state.getType and probably get the actual. I think that will give me the actual type of that. But I fear that that might actually also give me object because it's too generic down in these layers. So close. So here I know what this is now, right? I know this instance, so I can say from JSON state dot state saga dot, it's going weird, state dot get type, right? But then I'd be basically doing the same thing again, right? Which was the purpose of having this method, so it's all done in one place. Fetch saga if exists by orchestration ID. So I need to retrieve it and set those properties on it. So the behavior of this one is still required. Oh no, what a blinking idiot. What an idiot. I've gotten the method. I just developed the method for the exact purpose, right? I just developed this extension method, build saga from model, because I don't have that information. Saga from DB. That's the exact reason I just developed the model, the method as an extension. I don't like that. I think that is clearer. So again, factory, that's S. That's an interesting one. We need an override that doesn't require it. Yeah, we need a version of that is public static iSaga build saga from model. This iSaga factory. I think that might not. The only difference there is that's going to be interesting. That's going to be type.get type model.type identifier. That argument null exception, throw if null type. There you go. If Saga's null as well, there, that's also valid. That's interesting that well, I mean, it's a get required service, so actually it'll throw. If it's not there, it's going to throw anyway. So let's just leave that there. 90 file change commit out the door. Nice. So, okay, that's going to be iSaga factory. factory. That's fine. Right, Saga factory. Factory. Got a lot of factories going on here. Too big, that stuff makes me nervous. Again, as long as you can maintain your code, if you want to do 90 file commits, yeah, this is big enough as is. This is I'm getting, but I can't get to the testing part of this until, yeah. So what we've achieved, if this is all functional, right? Again, if this is all functional, is we have this persistence, this Saga persistence base. So I can save, save and retrieve sagas from the database, depending on, regardless of Mongo or SQL Server. I can get rid of that now. Hey, whoa. Nothing quite like doing that. You want to review this? You're more than welcome to review it. This is the open source stuff, right? So now this goes away. Right? I don't need this. He says that he deletes way too much. There you go. I don't need that, right? But what I do need is services that add. Do I need scoped I Saga factory, right? And that will give me the pieces I need now. So just need to remove that one namespace. That's fine. Uh, 20 files is probably about the most, in my opinion, unless it's stupid renaming. Well, again, it depends on the situation, right? What if I committed this at 20 files, or I was using the files to base off of, then I would be committing half completed stuff. So yeah, I got to pick and choose, Again, it's more about the productivity of what I've done to me than it is about the number of files to review. Yeah. And this is a design session more than anything. Give me a second, Tails. Everything depends. Exactly. Yeah. So, does it build? Right. I know the unit tests are going to fail because the unit tests are not configured properly. I need to fix them. The next question is, so over here, I can't do this anymore. I need to do... Taylor, you're going to have to give me a second. This is going to have to move up to a range, right? Because this now has to do var factory, because I can't now just create an instance of a... You okay? Hello. Can you give me 1 minute so I can finish this? Yeah? You want to play? Is that what you have to? You have to play time. Saga factory. Okay, so now the factory is going to do this dot create saga sample saga orchestration ID. Right, so that gives me my saga. Now I can persist it. And that's the same code I'll put in the SQL Server. And what I want to try and see if I can finish is that. We get one run, and then we call it a day, basically. Saga factory. I think number of files is not as important as keeping things as small as possible and related as possible. Try to do one thing per commit. And if you need to do more commits, so you don't have to say "and" in the commit message, all the better. All working up. Yeah, in this case, again, it's oh Oh, we got two methods there. Same problem. Arrange. Act. Act. Should be almost identical codes. That's fine. Took the act out both times. That's funny. Remove that one. Interesting. Okay. Let's give the Mongo one a run and see what happens. Yeah. Why so many double spaces? My readability, my navigation of the code. Services.add. So now I have a problem with that. I need to register the Saga. Sample Saga. Right. So that's a challenge. I generally group things by how I like read them back. So I will put a lot of spaces in things. But I will, like those scoped, those go together because they're all related to each other. And there we go, it passed. So our Saga factory is working. It will create a Saga. We can persist one and we can retrieve it, which means the Saga factory is being used twice there in that integration test. So that is functioning. I do have DI there. I just want them to group things into a file that belongs together. Perhaps it's a consequence from many type declarations in a single line. Yeah. So again, it's for me, it's readability. It's like how I read over the code, how I kind of visually group it. Right. This is a little bit weird for me because I don't like this style, but I'm doing a range at to cert inside of the code. So yeah. Just my way. This I'm not particularly like won over by, but again, I wouldn't normally write my unit test this way. Normally I kind of like that sort of stuff where, yeah. So like declarations go together. There's no point in spacing them out, but other things, it gives me the visual breakup so I can process it. But either way, that is working. I do have some extra pieces to change there to get it to work. And yeah. So that is progress. So I am not around for the rest of the week, unfortunately. I have PT tomorrow. I have travel to Texas. I'm back from Texas first thing Thursday morning. I go back to PT and I have doctors on Friday. So there will be no more streams for the rest of this week. I can't even fit night streams in because I'm not here. But I'm going to continue working on this in whatever spare time I do have. And I will see. I'll see how that goes. How dare you? What will I watch in here? Yeah, there will be no enjoyment this week. That is for certain. But I will do my best, and I will make sure I get some racing in or gaming in at some point. Yeah, but I will be back next week. If you are interested, if you've joined the stream and you're not sure what's going on or you want to ask more questions about it, you're more than welcome to join the Discord. Again, things like this, they're always worth discussing. What's clear from the last like half-hour conversation is just how different some of our opinions are on how we solve problems, how we lay things out, how we treat things. Any jokes, etc. aside, they're generally just our experiences that build towards how we develop code. So it's always worth exploring. So we're going to follow Maybe, actually, because I have not seen this streamer before, but if Maybe rated them, yeah, let's go over there. So Based Code is working on coding an AR switch jar. So let's follow Maybe. If you haven't followed maybe before, I highly recommend following him. He's a great streamer. It's a lot of fun in his stream. If you don't have the greatest of, he's sarcastic, and his stream can be a little bit difficult if you are not able to cope with a lot of joking around the code. But it's a great streamer. He's a great streamer and highly worth checking out. But let's go raid base code. Another .NET streamer is always worth raiding, and I haven't raided this person before, so please bear that in mind. And they're doing a swear jar, so it's probably for an adult thing. So anyway, take care, have a great week, and I will be back. Discord is always open as always. So thank you very much. Take care. The end. I gotta press buttons now. Whew.